Shalom, Holy Blossom. This will be a very special Shabbat. At 5 o'clock, we're gathering for a pre-Shabbat Nash, when during the service we'll have an installation for the new temple board and President Avra Rosen will address us. Tomorrow, Rabbi Nir Barkin, the Reform Rabbi from Modi'in in Israel, will be leading Torah study at 9 o'clock. All are welcome, either in person or online. And at the 10:30 service, we'll be hearing Rabbi Helfman's final sermon, which is followed by a mask and mingle in his honor. So please do come tomorrow morning to salute and celebrate Rabbi Helfman and all of his contributions to Holy Blossom before he and his family make their way to England. We are now deep into the Joseph story. One of the heartbreaking moments in the Joseph narrative is when his brothers have come to the palace. Joseph has not yet revealed himself to them, and he invites them to a meal. And the Torah includes a most unusual detail, the seating chart. There it is written, "Then Joseph washed his face and reappeared, now in control of himself, and gave the order, Simu lechem, serve the meal. And so they served him by himself, vayasimu lo levado, and they served them by themselves, levadam, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, levadam." Why? Why was there one table for Joseph, the prince of Egypt, one table for the Egyptians, and a third table for the brothers who had come from Israel, who had come down to Egypt from Israel? The Torah actually gives an explanation. We don't need to go to the imagination of Rabbinic Midrash. It says right in the Torah, "Ki lo yuchlun hamitzrim le'echol et ha'ivrim lechem, ki to'eva hi lemitzrim. Ki to'eva hi lemitzrayim." The Egyptians could not dine with the Hebrews, since that would be abhorrent to the Egyptians. That would be literally an abomination for Egypt. Is this the first example of anti-Semitism in the Bible? The Egyptians would not eat at the same table, would not break bread with the Hebrews. Is this the first example of government-sanctioned bigotry? Is this the first hint of the danger that was brewing in Egyptian culture and would, centuries later, give rise to another Pharaoh's full-blown murderous campaign against the Hebrews? This Hanukkah, the Jewish community of Toronto received two unwanted and two unwarranted gifts delivered to our front doorstep. The first was from the Student Union of the University of Toronto campus in Scarborough, calling for extreme boycotts on anyone or anything connected to Israel, including kosher pizza. And the second came from the Toronto District School Board, Office of the Integrity Commissioner of all places. The Integrity Commissioner called to censure a Jewish school board trustee for her criticism of anti-Israel and anti-Semitic materials which had been sent to teachers by a TDSB employee. I'm sure you've been following the stories. The Jewish community organized swiftly and in a unified voice that I don't often see, to be honest, not often enough. Things were set straight, or at least along the path to clarity and justice. I currently serve as the president of the Toronto Board of Rabbis, and just below this screen you can see the statement that we made. And here is a link to the statement made by the Reform Movement of Canada. Last night, the vote was cast, and although it was not nearly unanimous, as it ought to have been, the trustees of the TDSB rejected the Integrity Commissioner's call for censure of Trustee Alexandra Lulka. So what does this verse from Genesis come to teach us? That it would have been abhorrent in Egypt. One thing that it teaches us, not to put a positive spin where there is none, but just to name the fact that Jew hatred has always been. It is, God help us, the way of the world. We seem to be a thorn in the side of peoples everywhere. It is a strange comfort to know that despite the millennia of anti-Semitism, here we are, living, thriving, leading joy-filled Jewish lives. Last week, we saw individuals and families, congregations and communities across the planet gathering to light those little lights of Hanukkah, which stand for something so great and so wondrous. They stand for spiritual courage and faith in this eternal people. During the High Holy Days, I flagged for you Dara Horn's newest book of nonfiction. It is irreverently entitled People Love Dead Jews. I hope some of you have found your way to this book. It became a New York Times bestseller. The well-researched examples of anti-Semitism in far-flung places actually normalizes the absurdity of it all and simultaneously calls us to be on watch and to be on guard. Last week, I received Hanukkah greetings from a leading figure of the NDP when this elected official raised the topic of anti-Semitism and lamented over white supremacy and the hatred which comes from the right. I waited, and when it didn't come, I pointed out the dangers of anti-Semitism also coming simultaneously from the left. This elected official had not yet heard about the worrying headlines which fill your email box and mine. So, good people, I expect we're going to see more of the same in the coming months, right on time, with pandemic and economic instability. So we have to stay connected and we have to keep watch. And I have two simple pieces of advice. One is to deliberately and consistently cultivate friendships outside of the Jewish community. It's very important. Our recent Gifts of Light interfaith concert under Cantor Rosen's leadership is a prime example of how powerful these relationships can be. Muslim, Christian, and indigenous neighbors and faith leaders, and the mayor himself came to Holy Blossom to celebrate the common bonds which unite us in this blessed country. It was an extraordinary occasion, and the outpouring of common cause was energizing. To support this effort, we received a Shine a Light grant from the National Federations. You can read about it on this page. I'll put the link below. So yes, let us be vigilant and careful, but schreien Gewalt and wringing our hands does not help. In fact, it may hurt. Our children and our grandchildren are watching and listening and noticing every subtle cue. How do you fight anti-Semitism? Be Jewish, joyfully. How do you combat anti-Semitism? Light Shabbat candles tonight. Bring your kids to religious school on Sunday and stay for the service with them. I always tell members of our temple board, members of temple committees, adult students in our courses of lifelong learning, I ask them, do your kids know where you are tonight? Do your grandkids know that you sit on this committee? Do your neighbors and colleagues and relatives know what you're up to? The greatest investment in the security of the Jewish future is that you be Jewish. So with that hope and that prayer, I wish you all Shabbat Shalom.